Hello everyone, Fox here, and it's news time for State of Decay 2. We got update 23 coming out fairly soon, and right off the bat, I'm going to tell you, listen up, listen up. There is still not a release date for the Lethal Zone, so I'm going to think that's safe to conclude that Lethal Zone is not coming out with update 23. What we are going to be getting, though, is the new Bounty Broker update, the Stay Frosty pack. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to get the cleanest data for you guys. Good news, though, is that you'll still know what's going on, but the stream was a little bit disorganized. One example is that their streamer portraits were cutting off pretty much all the names of the weapons. Some people in the comments section said that they forgot to go over all of the items, and I will say that right off the bat, the new outfits, these tactical outfits, I don't even know what they're called, these sort of urban camo outfits, and that's because they didn't go into the wardrobe to show you what the names of the outfits were. Anyways, let's go over the weapons. I'm not going to spend too much time on them because a lot of them, they don't really seem too much different than other guns, but the first one is called the Samurai SMG, which seems to be a fairly ordinary submachine gun. I don't think it has a scope or really anything, so like I said, there's really not a whole lot to say about it. Then they showed the tactical walking stick, which is supposed to be a blunt weapon that emphasizes being lightweight, and from the stats, it doesn't look like a very good weapon. It's not something that I would recommend you use, and as a result, there's really not a whole lot to say about it. Then they showed off the D-Bar-Tini, which is a scoped bolt-action rifle. The scope isn't super strong, but it's still a scope, and as a result, the weapon should be halfway decent because bolt-action rifles that are scoped are pretty good. Next, they showed the interesting Oto Howitzer. This is a bolt-action 50 caliber rifle, and while that isn't interesting in and of itself, what is interesting is that 50 caliber rifles are super good in higher difficulties, and now you have a guaranteed way of getting it. You don't have to worry about any randomness. So unless this weapon is massively overpriced, I don't see why it would not be extremely good in a Fresh Start Nightmare Zone community, and I also don't see why it would not be really good in a Fresh Start Lethal Zone community because of how powerful 50 caliber weapons are for base defense. Then they showed the rather curious Cold Turkey shotgun. It's actually, I guess you'd call it a sniper shotgun. It is a shotgun with a sniper scope and an unusually tight spread where the shotgun actually can score headshots at a surprising distance. Following that, they showed the Yukon Path Breaker, which is a bladed weapon. Apparently, the size of the weapon is going to get scaled back. It is bigger than it ought to be, and looking at the stats, once again, it looks like it's going to be a below average bladed weapon, so it's not something that I'm going to recommend. And then after that, we got to see the Midnight Solstice, which is the first crossbow in the Bounty Broker pack. This shoots light bolts, and it emphasizes being extremely lightweight, and one of the side effects of that is that the projectile speed isn't as strong, meaning it feels the bullet drop way more severely than all other crossbows. Then we got to see the HBSD Blackout, which is kind of the opposite of the Cold Turkey shotgun. This is a 7.62 millimeter rifle that has an integrated suppressor, which is the best kind of suppressor, and it does have a scope, but it's like a super short range scope. That said, the zoom still really tightens up the crosshair, and that means it could be a big advantage in close quarters combat where excessive zoom actually makes it harder to hit things. Then they showed the HBPDW, which is the stripped down version of the Blackouts, pretty much the same weapon. It's a 7.62 millimeter rifle, but with none of the special features, so it doesn't have the integrated suppressor and it doesn't have the scope. Then we got to see the HB Snowfox, which is like the deluxe version of these HB weapons. This one's unique for being a looted item, meaning you're not going to get it from bounties, you're just going to have to go out into the world and loot it. But it's also a 7.62 millimeter rifle with a scope, but it also has an extra big magazine. Anyways, there's one last item on the list, and it's actually not a weapon, but before that, there's news that apparently there would have been 2 more weapons on this list, but Undead Labs ran out of time, and they weren't able to complete them for Update 33, so they're going to appear in kind of a mini update, like a 33.1. And those two weapons are the D-Bar and the S2K. They didn't talk too much about them. It's just something worth knowing. Anyways, let's move on to the final item on the list, the Maintenance Bench, which is actually a mod. And what it does is for the price of 2 chemicals, 200 parts, and 3 materials, the durability damage for both your guns and your melee weapons is reduced by 50% for 1 hour. Of course, the question is going to be, is this good? And when I ask, is this good, I'm specifically talking about a sensible thing you would do in State of Decay. Not something like going out of your way to cause a lot of murder and mayhem. I'm talking about, is there a strategic application for this in the typical State of Decay gameplay? And I honestly don't know. I can think of a situation where you could save parts, and that would be something like, okay, so you activate this, and for 1 hour you take out your Eternal Guard's Infinite Rage to go shred Plague Hearts. And sure, for a weapon that's fully automatic with 150 rounds in its magazine, yeah, if you're gonna go around for an entire hour just massacring Plague Hearts, yeah, you're definitely gonna take more than 200 parts worth of durability damage to the Eternal Guard. But here is the problem. If you are in a situation where you are capable of massacring Plague Hearts for an hour straight and causing over 200 parts worth of damage to your weapon, does it even matter at this point that you are saving your parts? In other words, the guy that has an Eternal Guard's Infinite Rage and like hundreds and hundreds of 7.62 millimeter bullets, does this person also struggle with parts to the point that this is beneficial? And conversely, if you are in a situation where, you know, saving parts is really important, are you also in a position where you're going to be able to just massacre Plague Hearts for an hour straight? So, I don't know. I'll have to actually acquire the item and I guess give it a whirl. But hey, that is that. The incoming items for the Stay Frosty pack for update 23 in State of Decay 2. Let me know what you think down in the comments section. Do any of these items pique your interest? Remember to like this video if it was informative. Subscribe for future State of Decay 2 content. And of course, remember that you don't have to be good to get good.